Hey, Kaiserreich, I'm feeling lazy today, so no intro. You'll get none and you'll like it.
Wow.
And he drops his phone again. Because why wouldn't he?
Indeed. Now let's get rid of this terrible, terrible music.
Like, I'm not even joking, it makes me sleepy. The title. The music makes me sleepy for some reason.
Oh. Except you misspelled sleepy.
I did that on purpose, you numbskull.
You did?
Yes.
As long as it was intentional.
Like I said earlier, if I have to hear that song loop again anytime soon, I'm going to invent time travel so I can punch the composer in the face.
Heyo!
I'm doing alright. How are you, Miss Etienne?
Progressive split with Thomas. Oh, and we're right back in here. The former Labor Party has had a complicated relationship with the Socialist Party of America. Formerly suspicious of the idea of a broad tent party, including both itself and reformists, the Socialist Party became considerably more friendly to the idea of a Labor Party after the British Revolution demonstrated the effectiveness of the United Front strategy. The painful divorce of CIO from AFL in 1929. Oh?
What? Oh, that's lovely. Don't worry, I can fix it.
Over industrial unionism further spurred the CIO, the SPA, the State Farmer, Labor, and Nonpartisan League parties to join together to form one National Farmer Labor Party in 1930. In its short lifespan, this has not been a very stable marriage. The SPA accepted the moderate Governor Floyd Olson of Minnesota.
What's some bombast in your voice?
Okay, of Minnesota's nomination for the 1932 presidential election. But now that the radical wing has won the nomination, many question whether or not the moderates will return the favor. Though Olson conceded to Thomas, many progressives refused to accept the results of the convention. Arthur G. Towney and North Dakota Nonpartisan League defectors, who were ultimately ejected by the SPA 1914, were the first to walk out after Thomas's victory. Abandoning the Farmer Labor, they have formally endorsed Huey Long for president in a betrayal. Many are waiting to see if local Farmer Labor factions will follow suit. Henrik Shipstead of Minnesota, a former Republican, has always been hesitant of the extreme anti-capitalism of his party mates. Also dissatisfied with the Republican and Union parties, who decided to back Farmer Labor leadership and refused to endorse anyone in the 1936 presidential election. Buck Farmer Labor leadership. While Norman Thomas has sought to downplay the impact of these high-profile desertions, it is clear that his radical vision impacts his electability. It draws in many voters severely disaffected with the system. However, it also polarizes opinions and pushes away more moderates. Gone with the Wind. This one played last time, so this is not a new event, so I'm not reading it.
Mm-hmm.
If you are interested in rereading it, pause and read it.
Why would you be?
Excuse me. There is growing concern that America is descending into possible civil war, and that, despite all our efforts to maintain security, supporters of Huey Long and the SBA simply have too much influence in some parts of the country. General Douglas MacArthur has unveiled a plan to infiltrate key areas in either New York or southern Texas. Come on, we gotta go infiltrate southern Texas. Get your cowboy hats and
Banjos?
and banjos.
And and AR-15s.
Your anachronistic AR-15s that don't exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
Both are of high importance, New York for its industry and Texas for its oil. And both are at high risk of takeover. MacArthur says that these efforts might still come to naught if the longest in SPA power become too great, but he believes it will greatly increase the government's chances of maintaining control should it come to an armed conflict. We absolutely need that Texas oil. Oh, cheery! Businesses collapse. When people do not have jobs, they do not have money. When they do not have money, they do not spend it. Such is the vicious cycle of recession and depression. No!
Eating.
Death spirals, the worst kind of spirals. Excuse me. With the spending power of consumers plummeting, businesses become less and less able to turn a profit. A weak decade during the Depression means that few smaller businesses have the reserves to maintain operations while in the red, and banks are understandably reluctant to loan money while massive lines of people wait outside for their doors to withdraw their savings.
Right?
Can you say bank run?
Bank run.
Business failure has been an endemic part of the Depression. Black Monday has once again brought it about in full force. Small businesses are the worst hit, with many closing their doors or even going bankrupt. In turn, their employees have been returned to the great and growing mass of the unemployed, further fueling the vicious cycle of today's economy. As unemployment shockingly begins to return to the nadir of 1929, the Depression has further fueled political radicalization. Unemployed workers flock to the SPA as one of the unemployed unions of the IWW. Small business owners seeking lower labor costs to stay afloat have militarized into far-right paramilitaries. Oh no!
Oh dear.
Openly battling strikers in the streets. Farmers riot and smash up banks. Screw you, bank! Well, they already got pitchforks. All they need is they are farmers. All they need are torches.
Right.
Who, desperate to keep their finances in order, have foreclosed on widows' farmsteads for a quick buck.
That's a dick move.
This is bad, isn't it? Military reforms. This also played last time. As I said, unless it is a brand new event, I will not waste your time with it. Because I want to get at least to where things start blowing up by the end of this. As I'm sure my co-host also would very much prefer if things start blowing up this stream.
Boom.
And we have Vietnam a few decades early.
Oh, dang. Nobody wanted that.
In 1912, African-American voters were, after decades of failure on civil rights issues, disillusioned with the Republican Party. When Democratic candidates Woodrow Wilson appeared receptive to the concerns of African-Americans, and in spite of his Southern background, many African-Americans flocked to his campaign. When in office, however, Wilson proceeded to segregate the federal government, which is a thing he did in real life.
Dick.
Deny appointments to African Americans and increase the severity of segregation in the armed forces. Also a thing he did. They used to be able to serve in the Navy, but not. And then he kicked them out. Granted, they were cooks and whatnot, but still.
Again, dick.
Setting back progress on civil rights by decades. The African American community is familiar with such betrayals and disappointments. The Republican Party has taken a largely passive stance on civil rights issues, while the Democratic Party, still with a powerful Southern interest, has provided little more hope for change. Perhaps the brightest hope in recent years, however, has been the presidency of Al Smith. Smith, traditionally seen as a defender of civil rights, again energized black support for the Democrats. Instead of reneging on his promises like Wilson, however, Smith has overseen some notable success in civil rights policy, most notably the passage of the...
Oh God, banjos.
Oh God, banjos.
Costigan-Wagner Act.
Costigan-Wagner Act.
Anti-lynching Act.
Costigan-Wagner Anti-Lynching Act in 1935. With this entry of Huey Long onto the national scene, African-American voters in the North have looked on the Louisiana upstart with reserved optimism. Long is known for having avoided racial vitriol and demagoguery in his statewide campaigns in Louisiana, and some of his statements surrounding the administration of Social Security as well as his national approach to racial issues gave rise to hope that he would be a different kind of Southerner. This optimism was shattered, however, by Long's selection of Eugene Talmadge as his running mate. Talmadge, one of the most infamous race-baiting governors in the South, has marked a change in direction for the Long campaign. Talmadge frequently espouses racist rhetoric on the campaign trail, seeing no pushback from Long on the matter, who is now silent regarding the concern of his black constituents. Yikes!
Ooh.
Where many northern black voters were once seriously
Sorry to hear that,
considering
dude.
the Long ticket for president, it is now clear that Long has ruptured his relationship with them beyond repair. Though Farmer Labor offers a civil rights plank, more black voters are inclined to return to the GOP, where nominee Alf Landon has a strong record of civil rights. As for Long...
The story done.
Indeed. There's a coup in Bulgaria.
The Shoah was restored.
Yeah, they gave power back to the emperor.
Oh dear.
The disappearance of Alfred M. Landon.
Houdini!
The considerable press attention
And now for my next trick, I'll make a president disappear.
has been on the latest scandals affecting the floundering Democrats and the latest bout of violence triggered by the longest and leftist. The Republican Party has been hard at work trying to build a workable electoral coalition for November. Balancing their conservative, liberal, and progressive wings. Wow, talk about a balancing act there.
Oh God, that sounds more like a tightrope act in the midst of a typhoon.
Mm-hmm. Well, both parties used to be like that. They used to have...
I know, I remember you telling me that. But yeah, once upon a time, well, actually, he can explain it better.
Once upon a time, both parties had conservative and liberal wings, and you basically had to manage that. And the guy who won the nomination was the one who could appeal to enough of voters on both sides.
That does sound annoying.
The selection of a progressive ticket has not stopped them from attempting to appeal to a disparate selection of voters across the country. Republican campaigners have been knocking on doors, soliciting funds from businesses large and small. Blasting the Smith administration for its incompetence, blasting Long for corruption, and stoking fears of a socialist revolution. So they're just blasting people. Despite these efforts, one crucial member...
Yeah, here's hoping.
One crucial member appears to not pulling his weight. Alf Landon, for whatever the reason, largely refuses to travel in his campaign or speak out much, leading to conservative columnist Westbrook Pegler to jab. Considerable mystery surrounds the disappearance of Alfred M. Landon of Topeka, Kansas, who has been missing from his regular haunts for some time. The Missing Persons Bureau has sent out an alarm bulletin bearing Mr. Landon's photograph and other particulars, and anyone having information on his whereabouts is asked to communicate direct...
Sick.
Which means that was actually... That's not a typo, that was in the original thing. With the Republican National Committee. But this year's election is simply too important to lose for the Republican Party. With competition intense and violence escalating, there is no going back. Despite the ineffectiveness of Alf Landon as a campaigner, his campaign managers have mobilized young activists and an army of writers to try and drag the Kansas governor over the finish line. Whatever happens, it is clear that this will be a long and hard-fought campaign.
Oh, you know you're fucked when you're the guy you have running doesn't even want to run.
Indeed. And we're making jokes about him disappearing.
Mm-hmm. A bold gambit for sure.
When Floyd Olson ran for president in 1932, many had doubts over whether or not the candidate would be able to win any states beyond his home state of Minnesota. He soon proved them wrong, polling extremely well in Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Washington, and other Great Plains states, and even notching several outright wins. To actually win the election, however, the Farmer Labor Party will need to capture states with much larger electoral votes rather than the sparsely populated Great Plains. Consequently, Norman Thomas and the Farmer Labor Party have been putting much more attention in the Midwest and East, solidifying their hold in areas of growing SPA strength in the Steel Belt. This has surprisingly put the extremely valuable state of New York, the largest state in the Union, into play. Norman Thomas has a long history of campaigning in New York, both for himself and his allies, and this has worked to his advantage. In 1936, the incumbent New York Republican Party has been thrown into panic about the prospect of losing the state and has been scrambling to consolidate the establishment vote there. A win in New York would go a long way, especially if the Farmer Labor Party can secure their expected win in the Midwest. However, they will need to survive the GOP counterattack first. Thomas was, however, has effectively sacrificed the Great Plains in his quest, and many within the party have complained that Farmer Labor is effectively fighting a rearguard action there against the longest surge. They note that even if Thomas could flip New York, the only way Farmer Labor will be able to get past the electoral threshold to win is if they secure several Great Plains states. A bold gambit for sure.
Mm-hmm. The Baltic government got toppled. Someone pick it back up.
The Great Heat Wave is over. That is not a new event either, so... Things are heating up over here.
Oh yeah.
Looks like the Cindies are going to win this one. Shots fired at Robinson. Shocking news has come from Indiana today. Vice President Joe T. Robinson, the Democratic nominee for president, was shot at while making a speech on the campaign trail with his running mate, and I know you're going to laugh at this again, Indiana's own governor, Paul V. McNutt.
Nut.
Okay, now we're shooting at politicians. Things are getting out of hand here. Though Robinson was not injured, a bullet struck Lieutenant Governor M. Clifford Townsend, the Democratic nominee for the governorship, sending him to the hospital, where he's in critical but stable condition. The assailant, local man Daniel Wares, was shot on the spot by Secret Service agents. Though Wares was seemingly a supporter of Huey Long, he is not believed to have had organizational links to any radical or extremist political groups. Having seemingly been rejected from joining a local Minuteman chapter, the investigation into the matter has come to the conclusion that Wares was a lone actor with eclectic political views, motivated to shoot the vice president due to a general disaffection with the Smith administration. All of Robinson's fellow candidates for the presidency have issued statements denouncing the attack, and expressing relief in the vice president's escape from harm. This includes Long himself, who not long ago clashed violently with Robinson for the Democratic nomination. Nevertheless, the radicalizing effect of the rhetoric of figures like Long is clearly, to some degree, at fault for the growing militarization of American political life. Not long after denouncing the assassination attempt, Long defended his support for his Minutemen, a group which have now been implicated in several political shootings this election cycle. The Canadian government has responded to our demand with a flat refusal. So basically what I demanded, let's go over here. I did not read this. This is actually new. After the British Revolution, to avoid mothballing the remaining Royal Navy, the Canadian government docked many formerly British ships into American ports at discounted docking rates. The question of payment for this service, however, has remained a sore spot in American politics. While it is unlikely Canada could repay all of their fees right now, demanding for payment will appease isolationists in Congress, whom we believe will join the political fringe if not appeased. And Canada says no. The Canadian government...
I mean, if they don't have the money to do it,
even so,
they can't,
Even so, their refusal has done its job and fired up the isolationist elements in the American government. President Smith's government has the support it needs at the cost of relations with the Canadians.
dang.
I don't remember this from last time. Having become widely popular since the 1890s, newspaper comic strips have established themselves as a widespread form of light entertainment among millions of Americans and foreign readers. Short comic stories featuring recurring characters have become ubiquitous in the nation's newspapers. Notably, the Hearst papers, which were a key innovator in the format in the late 1800s. Though such strips were denounced by some as yellow journalism, their popularity has only grown through the dark years of the Depression. One recent newcomer to the field has been a strip called The Phantom. The strip's titular protagonist is a costumed crime fighter who wears a mask and purple spandex, who relies on his wits, skill at gunslinging, and the myth of his own immortality to battle evildoers. Beginning as a daily strip in February, The Phantom has quickly grown popular enough to be serialized overseas, with the Australian Women's Mirror picking up the series. Regardless of what anyone might think of such silly stories, it can't be denied that the country could do with something to look forward to these days. Perhaps we all could do with a little cartoon fun.
Alright? Just as long as it's not finny fun. Ugh. That level in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Indeed.
Dang, tariffs? Really?
Yeah, because I want to make things worse. Remember.
Ah, that's right. You want things to explode.
I am actively sabotaging my own nation here because I am not playing as them once the bullets start flying.
True. If only Trump realized that, random tariffs did that.
Charles Lindbergh endorses Long.
Oh no.
Charles Lindbergh, the famed aviator, has suddenly endorsed Huey Long's campaign. Born to his father, Charles August Lindbergh, an immigrant from Sweden who later became a politician noted for his activism against an American entry in the Great War, Charles was fascinated by motor transportation from a young age. After quitting college, he became an aviator and barnstormed around the American countryside. A pioneer in this new age of flight, he worked as an airmail pilot before quitting to begin designing the Spirit of St. Louis. Despite having considerably fewer resources than his rivals, Lindbergh became the first to make a non-stop flight from New York to Paris in 1927, a massive milestone in aviation. Even as he landed in Paris, circling the Eiffel Tower, a huge crowd of over 100,000 people came to greet him, dragging him out of his plane in jubilation. Lindbergh became an international sensation, with hundreds of songs written about him, and received a hero's homecoming when he returned to New York. He spent the next few years making some contributions to science and aviation, but struggled against the strain of publicity. Hounded by the press both during and after his worldwide tour, Lindbergh and his family underwent further trauma in 1932 when his infant son, Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr., was abducted and held for ransom.
Damn!
Yeah, that actually happened.
That's horrifying.
While his son was successfully retrieved, that is not what happened.
Oh no. He wasn't retrieved, IRL?
No, the baby died.
Damn.
While his son was successfully retrieved and the kidnapper, a German immigrant, was apprehended, the publicity from the incident became known as the crime of the century, adding further attention to the intensely private Lindbergh. Lindbergh has spent the past year or so in Europe to avoid the spotlight, but his return and endorsement of Long has thrown him back in the public eye. A close friend of Henry Ford, a staunch anti-socialist, an isolationist like his father, and a white supremacist.
Again, ew.
His political views have drawn controversy, but he remains popular among many Americans. Lindbergh actually was a massive massive supporter of the fascists and fan of Hitler's.
Damn.
The Jobless Party. From start to finish, the Democratic campaign for presidency in 1936 has been a general and complete catastrophe, having suffered a nearly fatal party split after Huey Long failed to win the nomination in a contested convention. The Democrats were left to run an unpopular holdover of an unpopular administration of Vice President Joe T. Robinson. Tied to the hip to Al Smith's record, Robinson has consistently failed to separate himself from the unpopular incumbent president, leaving the Democrats scrambling to recover any ground at all. A floundering Democratic effort has made room for all other significant candidates competing in this election. Long very blatantly hopes to cannibalize the Democratic base. Nom 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 nom. Tasty voters, and to render himself the de facto Democratic nominee. The Republicans, meanwhile, seek to take the votes of non-socialists, progressive, and liberals, while Farmer Labor hopes to tear away the Democrats' working-class constituency. The failure of the Democrats has made room for other efforts, however. In Pennsylvania, farmer James B. Cox, a Smith-supporting labor priest with ties to the local AFL and CIO, has launched his own Jobless Party, on whose ticket he intends to run for president. The ticket has appealed to some Smith-supporting Pennsylvania Catholics as well as the unemployed, but is not likely to be a strong effort. It is far from the only picking at the Democratic carcass, however, and it instead is good. It's another example of how much the Democrats have failed.
Oof.
So I'm pretty sure that the Democrats are up for a shellacking.
Sounds like it. Shellac, shellac, shellac. Checking out the violence again?
Yes. Well, it looks like Germany's going to win there.
Mm-hmm. Ming insurgency.
Mingdan.
Mingdan insurgency, my bad.
While militias have existed before even the American Revolution and played a major role in its history, the United States has not seen the degree of polarization and organization of its militias since the American Civil War over 7 decades ago. When Huey Long first called for new Minutemen, he might have simply been speaking rhetorically. However, the rapid proliferation of paramilitaries under his umbrella has seen them become the armed wing of his movement, brandishing converted weapons and stockpiling ammunition. Hey,
oh dear.
That's bad, isn't it?
Incredibly. Especially since they're converted weapons, because some of them are absolutely exploding in their hands.
They have become increasingly visible at Long's rallies. Some wonder if they have become such a force in their own right that even Long is unable to fully control them. If that is indeed the case, he has made no indication of it any regret of their formation, frequently praising them in his recent speeches. The evolution has been rapid. The initial paramilitaries were loosely organized, often rival bands, begrudgingly sharing a label led by unstable radicals, with dubious pasts engaging in small-scale skirmishes. Though still not quite a single unified entity, Minutemen closer to the Union Party center have developed a more formal hierarchy. Their commanders, often respected military veterans, have turned the Minutemen into a dangerous fighting force, albeit still unable to contend with a conventional army, terrorizing leftist gatherings, violently breaking up strikes and protests, and staging increasingly well-planned raids on the Red Guard. There have been political consequences for Long, however. While some moderates accept the violence as a necessary bulwark against a socialist revolution, many others have been turned off by the militarization of the Union Party. As the worst atrocities of the Minutemen make it into the papers, Long is faced with a reckoning. Continuing to allow them to operate autonomously would leave some plausible deniability for Long, but be a liability in the long term. But some doubt if he can even tighten the leash at all.
If you want our guys more popular, you want the top one.
Well, we don't want the Nat Pops.
Those are different groups. I'm confused.
We want these guys more popular. We don't want either of these more popular.
Whichever one's lower, click that one.
That would be the off dem.
Why are we hanging out over Japan?
I don't know. Looks like Germany's gonna win. The young bull moose. The vice president rarely receives much attention on the campaign trail, but Quentin Roosevelt might be an exception. The youngest son of President Theodore Roosevelt, Quentin grew up in the White House, where he was a notorious troublemaker. He soon grew into an intelligent, thoughtful young man, attending Harvard University and becoming a noted writer. He also married prominent socialite Flora Payne Whitney, a descendant of Cornelius Vanderbilt. Trained in the ROTC in 1916, Quentin largely disliked the experience, but even after graduation, spent some time in the military and helped them develop a new military air wing. Quentin inherits his father's political legacy. Theodore Roosevelt Sr. was a prominent liberal Republican at the turn of the century, famous for embracing progressive movement policies at home and adopting an interventionist foreign policy abroad. Disgruntled with his successor, William Taft's conservative policies, he attempted to run for a third term in 1912 at the helm of the Progressive Party, dubbed the Bull Moose Party, after Roosevelt boasted that he felt as strong as a bull moose. Despite his loss at the 1912 Republican Convention, while the Bull Moose Party had long since disintegrated, the Roosevelt political legacy has not. Quentin leveraged his father's fame to help him win the 1932 New York gubernatorial election, bringing the Republicans back into power in Albany. His implementation of progressive policies has made him a young standard-bearer for the liberal wing of the Republican Party, helping shore up the party's support from the left. He actually should be dead.
Yeah.
He historically died in World War I.
Yep.
But the U.S. never entered the war in this timeline, and so he lives.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, the closing arguments. When elections come to a close, they end as an orchestral crescendo. Every candidate seeks to make their core message as widely known as possible, to capture every last undecided voter, to consolidate in the state where they are expected to do well, and make a final push in the states which are still up for grabs. This year is, of course, is different only in scale. 4 viable candidates campaign for the presidency, each with their interweaving regional and political bases. The chaos of the 4-horse race has allowed voters to cast their ballots without much regard for spoilage or strategic voting. As such, both the Democrats and Republicans have been forced to fight tooth and nail to keep their voters in line. As the campaign nears its conclusion, the Republicans have put their young, bright-faced Quentin Roosevelt front and center. A nationwide tour has seen the GOP recover some of its slippage in the polls, as Roosevelt's charisma and boyish charms make up for any shortcomings at the top of the ticket. In recent months, meanwhile, the Farmer Labor campaign has increasingly been staffed by Socialist Party cadres, who have pushed the party's messaging in a more radical direction in spite of the wishes of the convention. Similarly, Huey Long's campaign has also become more and more militant, as the men briefly lay down their pistols and rifles to go pamphleteering for the kingfish. Where the other 3 parties are rising, the Democrats are stalling and failing. Though Vice President Robinson is an impassioned speaker, 8 years of unpopular Democratic rule have made the party's brand poison, especially for a man so closely tied to Al Smith. Clausewitz says that war is politics by other means. On the campaign trail, the opposite might be said to be true. As in war, each campaign seeks a decisive blow, a through line, a winning message. As things stand, no breakthrough seems likely in the closing days of the campaign. We await the people's decision with bated breath. Moment of truth, people.
Bum-ba-da-bum.
Ah, the maritime workers are on strike. The dock workers went on strike. As the nationwide strikes wave precipitated a worsening economic conditions continue to spread, militant labor organizations have been further emboldened to strike in key industries. The turn from October to November has seen a substantial upflare in industrial struggle in the maritime industry on both coasts. In the West, CIO heavyweight Henry Bridges has sought to maintain the gains and replicate the success of the massive 1934 West Coast longshoremen strike, which culminated in a general strike in San Francisco. Bridges has united his International Longshoremen's Association with Harry Lundenberg's Sailors Union of the Pacific
Lundberg's, actually.
under the banner of the Maritime Federation of the Pacific, which has now brought all shipping on the West Coast to a halt, with both longshoremen and sailors refusing to work.
Mm-hmm.
On the Gulf Coast, parallel developments have led to the emergence of the Maritime Federation of the Gulf Coast, a union inspired by Bridges and Lundberg's organization. Rejecting the AFL's International Seamen's Union, the SPA-influenced unionists have initiated a wildcat strike. If you don't know what a wildcat strike is, that's when they just go out on strike and it's not officially called by the union. That's a wildcat strike.
Gotcha.
Compared to their West Coast counterparts, the Gulf Coast strikers have struggled with law enforcement and maintaining racial solidarity, though both coasts have seen significant increase of violence against police and yellow union officials.
Significant instances.
Yes.
Incidences, rather.
The total shutdown of the West Coast shipping is certainly the most concerning impact in the latest strike. The potential impact on food supply chains in particular is of grave consequence. Though any impact is unlikely to be felt before voters go to the polls, the same cannot be said of the industrial conflict that has been brewing throughout the past year. Throughout the year, the American people have been waiting for the election with bated breath. Some have been eager to finally be able to express their full dissatisfaction with the current state of the country, to tear down the current administration and bring about a new dawn by electing their preferred candidate at large. Others have fearfully awaited the likely consequence of a contested and violent election, likely to be the peak of growing radical political activity, which has dominated the headlines of this year. Americans this year have come to the polls in droves. Turnout has increased compared to 1932 by over 7%, driven by increased participation of women and working-class voters. Incidents of violence at polling stations, both towards political opponents and poll workers, have been reported in numerous locations, particularly in socialist-dominated northern municipalities, where the Red Guard and Minutemen compete with ferocity. However, it has not been as overwhelming an issue as we might have feared. With most states using the secret Australian ballot, the effects of voter intimidation has been reflectively limited. In any case, all Americans go to the polls. We await the results with a great deal of anticipation. While it is quite likely that the election will end without a winner on election day, just as it did 4 years ago, we can hope beyond hope that the election provides some resolution to the country's political
ills.
No winner.
Oh dear.
As the votes come in, it quickly became clear that none of the four major candidates had a decisive advantage. Long, the Republicans, the Farmer Labor, each captured their safe states. The Republicans won Upper New England and Indiana decisively. Long swept the Deep South, and Farmer Labor won a stretch of states from West Virginia to North Dakota. The real story of the night was the complete collapse of the Democratic vote, appearing to fall to fourth place both in the popular and electoral vote. The Democrats struggled to win beyond their safest state, such as Virginia and Texas, dragged down by 8 years of unpopular Democratic government. The incumbent party has collapsed in a manner scarcely predicted by even the most pessimistic observers. As the final votes come in, it is now clear that no party will win a majority of the electoral vote. With the Republicans and Farmer Labor contesting the top two places, Long and the Union Party in third, and the Democrats in fourth. A contingent election will now have to be held in Congress. The complete collapse of the Democrats, however, throws a wrench in the process. Since the Democrats fell below third place, Joe T. Robinson will not be a candidate in the contingent election. Instead, the House of Representatives will be faced with a choice of the Republicans, Farmer Labor, and Long. The continued strength of the Democratic delegation, however, means the clear losers of this election will still play a decisive role in electing the next president. These results are anything but decisive. Already, Long has claimed victory in spite of his coming in a clear third in the Electoral College. The popular vote winners, the Republicans, have called for calm and trust in the process, clearly expecting to win the House of an often establishment coalition. In any case, we can now know for sure that the election and indeed the country's political woes will not be solved this November.
Unfortunate.
And Syndicalists and Nat Pop are going to get more popular by the day.
Oh dear.
Accusations of fraud.
Oh dear. Just like today.
Yeah, but in this case, it's far more understandable that people are accusing fraud. Think of how charged everything is in this.
True.
As much as we joke about how contentious our elections have been lately, this just puts everything.
It takes everything happening to us and turns it up. That's been happening here and turns it up to 11.
With many the indecisive election results have left no party satisfied, with many devoted partisans, particularly from the radical parties, fuming at their candidates' failure to win decisively. Allegations of foul play and systemic rigging of election results have entered the public discourse. Across the nation, claims that local or state or even federal authorities have manipulated the results of the election have grown louder and louder. Yet another symptom of collapsing faith in America's institutions. The Socialist Party has used reports from their poll watchers of numerous instances of attempted discarding of socialist and farmer labor ballots to claim a systemic nationwide undercount of farmer labor votes. They've also denounced the suppression of the African American vote in the South, a fact of life since the end of Reconstruction, and claimed that had Southern blacks been able to vote, they would have delivered several states to the farmer labor column. Huey Long, meanwhile, has thrown around the numerous claims regarding vote manipulation, claiming Republicans and socialist municipal politicians cost him hundreds of thousands of city votes. Long has sued numerous states for recounts of their ballots. Such claims even seem rather hypocritical, however, when accounting for the infamous practices of his own machine, as well as the Democratic machines allied with him, such as the Pendergast machine in Kansas City. The lawsuits surrounding most claims of fraud are unlikely to hold up in court. The very fact that such claims are so commonplace is a dire sign for the legitimacy of American elections. If millions of voters will not accept their candidates' defeat, how can we have a stable and civil political culture? November is never going to end, is it?
We lost base stability.
Which is already in the crapper. Fear and loathing in New York.
Oh dear.
Is this what I think it is?
Why do you care?
It is not. Thought it was one of an old French revolution song. As the aftermath of the election continues to unfold, the myriad disputes and contestations surrounding the results have grown in intensity and stakes. What has emerged as by far the most significant electoral dispute has been that surrounding the election of for the governorship of New York. In a tight three-way race, the Democrats, Republicans, and Farmer Labor have all claimed victory, demanding recounts of various batches of votes they suspect to be fraudulent. Incumbent Governor Quentin Roosevelt was, at the beginning of the year, widely expected to win re-election handily. His selection as the GOP's nominee for vice president, however, ended his bid for re-election, resulting in an open race for the Republican nomination in the governorship. The new Republican nominee, famed urban planner Robert Moses, holds more conservative positions than Roosevelt. His comparative conservatism allowed the Democratic nominee, former Governor Herbert Lehman, to make a play for the non-socialist progressive vote. The race was rounded out by Farmer Labor candidate, SPA official Benjamin Gitlow. Though the New York Farmer Labor Party includes...
You should get high instead.
Indeed. Includes many non-socialist progressives. Its largest component, by far, is the New York Socialist Party. Gitlow, a protege and close ally of John Reed, has, in spite of his radicalism, compared to figures such as the Farmer Labor mayor of New York City, Fiorello LaGuardia, cornered the labor vote and effectively mounted a competitive bid for the governorship. Though few could predict how the close race would turn out, fewer still would have expected a three-way tie, All three parties have claimed victory, and numerous recounts in key counties have been ordered. As things stand, our advisors expect Lehman to pull ahead based on the numbers available to us. However, it appears likely that socialists will refuse to concede no matter what any court orders. Civil War in Spain.
Oh no! They removed the S. Now it's only pain.
If anything can be gained from the election results in November, it is that the conservative politics of the Smith administration have been utterly repudiated by the American voting public. All three candidates who are eligible to be elected in the contingent election campaign on a platform of change, be it moderate in the case of the GOP, progressive in the case of Farmer Labor, or populist in the case of Long. Robertson, the candidate most representative of continuity, was soundly crushed both in the popular vote and the Electoral College. Nevertheless, conservatives in Congress have not taken this setback lying down. Bracing for a political environment that, in any case, is likely to see substantial attempts to effect change in American politics, conservatives in both the Democratic and Republican parties have met formally to discuss shared tactics going forward. The result has been dubbed the Conservative Coalition, an unofficial alliance united behind general conservative principles. The Conservative Manifesto, released by Democrat Senator from North Carolina Josiah Bailey and co-signed by several conservatives of both parties as a framework for the alliance, endorses sound financing, limited government intervention in the economy, and a conservative labor policy as its core tenets. Both Farmer Labor and Long have denounced the new alliance as a haven for vested interests. Nevertheless, the new bloc is sizable and is already preparing to make life hell for any overly radical incoming president. The bloc has also taken the liberty of meeting with several figures of national importance, such as General Douglas MacArthur and FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, to better assess the growing radical violence taking place nationwide.
What we doing now? U.S. Navy!
Strike wave intensifies. For over a year now, almost since even before the economic downturn of February, militant labor action has steadily grown both in intensity and scale across the country. Checking how long we've been streaming for. The lack of any certainty of policy following the election has only intensified this trend, as SBA and CIO rabble-rousers proclaim that the contested election will be used as an excuse for government inaction on the economy and on protecting the right to organize. On both coasts, the maritime strike launched by Harry Bridges continue into its second month, where the federal government has once again offered to mediate. Both the companies and the union have sought a decisive victory, with both sides being more militarized than in 1934. Minutemen and Red Guards clash in San Francisco and other port cities, egged on by both sides. In the East, tensions in the industrial core of the nation have once again flared up. William Z. Foster, the CIO's leading ultra-syndicalist and architect of the 1931 Great Steel Strike, has turned his attention to Little Steel, which escaped unionization in 1921. While U.S. Steel was forced to the table, now after his near-fatal heart attack, Foster has reemerged onto the scene with a bang, hoping to impose a similar deal on its minor competitors. The strike has quickly turned violent, with several workers and paramilitaries dead. Nearby in Detroit, the UAW, accepted by the motor industry as a fait accompli after the success of the steel strike, has launched another round of industrial action against General Motors after GM announced plans to close down several factories. Intending to protect their members' employment, the union has rallied around leading figure Walter Reuther, who, in spite of his injuries earlier this year, has managed an energetic organizing and picketing effort. Whatever the outcome of the election, the labor train appears to be headed on a collision course with every established authority in the nation. We can only hope it can be halted by peaceful means.
They were trying to get us to come to Brazil.
Indeed.
We know better, though. Because to go to Brazil is to be accosted by Jair Bolsonaro. And nobody wants to interact with that freak.
Today, the various presidential electors from all 48 states have met to cast their ballots for the presidency in the United States. Votes in presidential elections are technically not cast for the presidential candidates themselves, but rather for slates of electors pledged to vote on behalf of their candidates. In the legally binding election, though usually a mere formality, the Electoral College has sometimes had significance beyond mere civic ritual. Though electors are generally loyal party men, they on occasion break with their pledge to vote for alternative candidates, becoming faithless electors. The careful vetting of candidates in this high-stakes election has precluded the possibility of any faithless electors this year. The Electoral College has voted in lockstep with what was expected of it. As such, we can now know with absolute certainty that there will be no outright winner in the election. Instead, there will now have to be a contingent election in Congress to separately elect a president and vice president, just as there was 4 years ago in 1932. Yeah, if there's a tie, the House picks the president, the Senate picks the vice president.
I am not a fan of the Electoral College.
Nobody is. At least not anymore. Just as there was 4 years ago in 1932. Though Al Smith and Joe Robinson rode relatively easily to re-election in the House and Senate that year due to continued Democratic strength, this year things are much less certain. Though the Senate, which elects the vice president and is still dominated by the establishment parties, is likely to elect Quentin Roosevelt to the number 2 spot, the House, which elects the president, is a general mess, and few can predict the direction in which the wind will blow, and especially into the year. It's also a problem because they don't vote the same manner.
Mm-hmm.
The Senate votes straight votes like a regular vote, and all you need is 50% plus 1.
Ah.
The House, however, has this convoluted system where it isn't just a regular vote. Each state's block of electors vote,
mm-hmm.
and if you win a majority of that state's electors, you get that state's 1 vote.
Ah. Research.
Science stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Under Al Smith, the American economy has had its ups and downs. The narrow avoidance of total collapse of the U.S. banking sector in 1929 facilitated
The banking plan will sign your treaty.
Indeed. Facilitated a few years of modest recovery before the Kredenstadt collapse of 1931 sent the country back into recession. As Smith won re-election, a slow and arduous climb back to relative normality followed in his second term. For a moment, it appeared as if something resembling recovery might be at hand. The American people knew better than to believe. The dark days of 1929 have returned. Unemployment, inching towards a low of 13% at the beginning of the year, has surged back to 20%. As now rising at a faster rate than at any previous point in the Depression. Bankruptcies and business failures have skyrocketed. Foreign trade has collapsed again. I do like that.
Wow.
Little again.
Mm-hmm.
And the progress of the Smith years has turned to dust in his last days in office. In these days,
he's gonna have to get off his ass.
At least he's hopeless become the rarest.
He won't be sitting in the White House anymore, after all.
Yes, it's become the rarest commodity of all. Anger, however, is ubiquitous. Over a decade of failure has crushed confidence in America's political establishment. Right and left, radical political forces have transformed politics from an elite and gentlemanly affair, adjust the tie,
the non-existent one,
into the domain of the mob and mass movements. Paramilitaries roam the streets of major American cities, clashing over partisan allegiances. Decency dies an anonymous death. General MacArthur has assured the president that the army is well equipped to handle any paramilitary insurrection. Let's hope that this less than reassuring affirmation does not come to pass.
Basic fortification. Oh, the vice president's dead.
Also, the Democratic nominee.
Oh dear.
Since his smashing defeat in the presidential election the better part of 2 months ago, Vice President Joe T. Robinson has kept a relatively low profile. With little left in his career but to preside over the certification of the results of the election he disastrously lost, few have expected much of Robinson before his resumed post-vice presidential retirement, especially as the attention of the nation is focused on other more pressing matters. Now, however, Robinson has been spared the ignominy of presiding over his own defeat. Today, news has come from Washington of the vice president's passing. After complaining of chest pains 2 days ago, he died of heart failure, probably brought about by the stress of campaigning. The decisive loss of his home state in the election to his enemy, Huey Long, also weighed heavily on the vice president in his last days. With Robinson's death, the duty of certifying the results of the election will pass to the President pro tempore of the Senate. Both President Smith and numerous members of both House and Senate paid their respects to Robinson, a veteran legislator, as a senator from Arkansas. Both the Republican and Farmer Labor nominees sent their condolences, while Huey Long gave a brief acknowledgement of Robinson's death. Rest in peace.
Rip in pieces. Seize the means of production!
Quite literally. General Motors planned to closure of...
Oh, what do you think they meant? Figuratively?
General Motors' planned closure of factories in Detroit have run into perhaps the worst-case scenario, the spontaneous occupation of the factories by the working class itself. Walter Reuther, still sporting bandages from the so-called Battle of the Overpass from months ago, was seen shaking the hands of many an auto worker after the UAW led the effort with a series of wildcat strikes and direct actions increasingly bordering on the revolutionary. Organizing the workers into elected committees based on factory as well as overall union affiliation, be it IWW, CIO, or in some cases sparse AFL radicals or previously unaffiliated workers, the SPA essentially began the direct formation of dual power structures within the nation's industrial heartland. The state government has completely crumbled in response to the workers' demands, has immediately agreed to pay markedly increased wages using federal funds, de facto nationalizing the plants without compensation to a furious GM. A flurry of furious legal suits is nothing new for the times. Especially at this point, but the scale is almost unprecedented. The government's panic concession sent the most worrying message to business leaders across the country. Too paralyzed to do anything about the disruption of normal commerce, as the CIO organizes the self-defense and armament of the newly socialized factory, a dreadful question once thought unthinkable began to bubble up on the lips of the workers and bosses alike. How long do we have until it all boils over?
Oh no! What, do you not like it?
I do. After nearly 2 months of post-election turmoil, the 76th Congress has met in Washington for the first time. The indecisive results of the presidential...
That's a lot of Congresses.
Yes. Have resulted in two... Well, now we're up to, like, I think the 200... we're in the hundreds of Congresses. Because every time there's a midterm, it's a new Congress.
Ah.
Have resulted in 2 highly divided chambers. Hello there, Wolf.
Greetings, Mr. Wolf.
Have resulted in 2 highly divided chambers, now having to wrangle in order to form any sort of majority, not only to elect a speaker, but also, since the Electoral College failed to do so, elect a president. The Democratic caucus is placed in a unique position compared to the other parties in Congress, however. Its candidate for president came fourth in November, and will thus not be a candidate in the contingent election. This leaves the Democratic representatives as de facto kingmakers, as they cannot vote for their own candidate and must therefore support the nominee of another party. On the one hand, most they can form an establishment-oriented coalition to elect the president Republican nominee. The Democrats and Republicans together have a thin majority, so finding the votes for this should be fairly simple. As the Republicans have indicated...
Bad news, I can no longer bring the moose. He passed last year.
Indeed. So finding the votes for this should be fairly simple, as the Republicans have indicated a willingness to allow John Nance Garner to remain as Speaker if their candidate is elected. It should be easy to bring most Democrats on board with the idea. Alternatively, the Democrats could cobble together a coalition of Democrats, progressive Republicans, and moderate farmer laborites to elect Huey Long president. Though many Democrats disdain Long, he retains significant ties to his old party, and elevating him to the presidency may help heal the wounds of the last year's campaign. The farmer labor nominee, Norman Thomas, is also an available candidate. The thought of putting an outright socialist in the White House has been shut down by the conservative and moderate liberals alike. Before a contingent election is held, the Speaker must first be elected to preside over the House. Since the Speaker will also be able to influence the voting rules of the contingent election, it is likely that whatever coalition elects a Speaker will also elect the President. Should the House fail to elect the Speaker, it is likely that it will be difficult for any faction to build a majority behind their candidate, potentially leaving the country in a constitutional limbo. I actually want the deadlock to not be overcome. Because the deadlock to not be overcome. Because it makes the situation I want to happen more likely.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, dude. Yeah, it sucks. I miss him.
Indeed.
He was a good boy.
He was good boy. No, he was not good boy. He was best boy.
Oh, yeah.
Electoral chaos. Several days of frantic balloting have made a mess of the House floor. Oh, no. Frantic negotiation, horse trading. No!
Why are there horses involved?
Demands, threats, every card in the politician's playbook, and yet after days of fighting, approaching very literal levels.
Oh no.
Just imagine some crusty old representatives like trying to engage in fisticuffs.
I challenge you to fisticuffs. How about you?
The House is still no closer to electing a Speaker. With the time for the certification of the presidential election results fast approaching, previous Speaker John Nance Garner made one last desperate push to win the speakership. He failed, by an even larger margin than he had previously. With no Speaker, the House is in no state to negotiate for the election of a president. The preliminary legal advice has indicated that the House should be able to participate in the joint session of Congress, which will certify the results of the election. There is little hope for pulling together a coalition to actually elect a president after the results are certified. Worse still, the Senate is feeling the effects of the deadlock in the House. Even though the composition of the Senate should make a compromise much easier, Democrats thus far have failed to reach a deal with the Republicans to elect Quentin Roosevelt vice president. As some Republicans have even gone so far as to accuse Democratic leadership of obstructing the election, so Cordell Hull will become acting president on the 20th. With it quickly becoming a distant possibility that come January 20th, there will be no president of the United States, Washington has gone into panic mode. Preparations for any incoming administration are impossible when there is no certainty there will be any new administration at all. The nationwide strike wave has picked up further steam, and President Smith has been briefed about the Army's ability to contain a nationwide insurrection. With only 2 weeks to go, we can only hope that the House can resolve this situation before it is too late. What the hell are they doing? The good Lord himself alone knows. The fall.
No, he doesn't. He's lying to himself.
The fall of Sydney. Well, guess Sydney, Australia is not going to be a thing.
Canada is there for some reason.
Because Australia is at war with the Entente. For the past 2 weeks, Congress has been locked in an endless gridlock. No party or group has been willing to or able to compromise in order to create a majority needed to elect a president or vice president. As the country descends into rioting, mass strikes, and political violence, the election continues to be uncertified, preventing the election of either a president or a vice president. Yesterday, previous Speaker John Nance Garner made one last desperate push to form a working coalition. With his own party conference unwilling to agree to commit their support to any presidential ticket, however, his attempt failed just as all his previous ones had. It is now certain that come the 20th, there would be no elected president to take office. President Smith has had 2 weeks to prepare his administration for this eventuality. His solution has been to ask his cabinet not to hand in their resignations, conventionally done upon the inauguration of a new president, and to instead stay in their current positions until a new president is elected. As a result, at 12 noon, January 20th, 1937, when Smith was to leave office, Cordell Hull, the incumbent Secretary of State, will become acting president as per the Presidential Succession Act of 1886. Today that time has come. At noon, former President Al Smith left office without a successor, leaving the office vacant for the first time in nearly 150 years. Immediately, Cordell Hull entered the Oval Office as the acting president of the United States.
That is a lot of red.
And now we have an acting president instead of an actual president. No one won the election.
Oh, no.
Huzzah! Government paralysis. The continuing failure of Congress to elect a president has placed the nation in an unprecedented situation. For the first time since 1789, the office of President of the United States has become vacant, with no permanent successor to Al Smith in sight. As the House has yet again failed to elect a Speaker, Secretary of State Cordell Hull has taken to fulfilling the duties of the presidency, signing official documents as the acting President of the United States. Hull's decision not to resign with Smith's departure as his standard protocol, and to instead stay on to maintain continuity of government, has maintained some small semblance of normalcy in Washington. Though he has been praised by his fellow Democrats, members of other parties have taken a more cynical view, with some even accusing the Democrats of prolonging the election so as to maintain power under Hull, since it is legally impossible for a Democrat to be elected president in the House. Though this dissent has not resulted in any significant violence as of yet, many state governments have thus far refused to acknowledge the acting president's authority, setting the stage for a dangerous confrontation between the states and the headless federal government. Oh great, the states are refusing to recognize the president's authority.
Oh dear.
Long denounces Congress. It has not taken long for the anti-establishment political forces to comment on the current situation in Washington. Though both Long and the Socialists bear central responsibility for the continuing failure of the House to elect a president, they have nonetheless been able to readily reap the rewards of congressional deadlock, as America's political class seems incapable of governing. This week, it appears that Long has taken the spotlight. In the Senate, now the only vaguely functional chamber of Congress,
Oh no.
Long has vociferously denounced Hull as a usurper, attacking the unconstitutional assault on the American people, which he claims Hull is at the head of.
Imagine considering Schumer and McConnell, the ones in charge. Either one could keel over any minute.
Hull and Long have long been at odds, as Hull's establishment-oriented liberalism conflicts with Long's radical populism. Notably, in response to Long's common denunciations of Congress, Hull once suggested that after a mob had hanged the other damn scoundrels in the Senate, as Long suggested they would, Long should complete the justice by hanging himself.
Ooh. That is, a rude way of saying things.
While this latest conflict is therefore unsurprising, what is concerning is the degree to which the general public agrees with Long. The Hull administration, heavy air quotes, remains utterly bereft of legitimacy, and as the days go by, more and more public figures have called for Hull to step down, even in the absence of an alternative. Who else is there? Well, I know who else there is. You might too.
Read!
Nope.
Oh. Oh dear!
Since January 20th...
Assuming direct control.
Yes. Since January 20th, numerous state governments across the country have refused to recognize Cordell Hull as the acting president. In spite of the lack of any legitimate alternative pole of power in the country, state governments aligned with Huey Long and the SBA have not acknowledged any executive orders or decisions signed by acting President Hull. Instead, they have administratively almost cut themselves off from the federal government and have even begun to give orders and directives to federal employees in their respective states in spite of their lack of legal authority over them. The most notable instance of this has been in the aftermath of the growing steelworker strike in eastern Ohio. The situation has quickly grown incredibly violent as open gunfights between Minutemen, Red Guards, and other militias have left over a dozen dead in the past week. Federal attempts to force the National Guard to intervene have gone unheeded, however, as the National Guard in Ohio refuses to acknowledge Hull's legitimacy. Okay, now we have soldiers refusing to recognize the legitimacy of the president.
Oh dear.
Instead, the socialist governor has ordered the Guard to suppress the Minutemen, which they have begun to do. Our failure to control the National Guard is a substantial blow to our authority. Already, other state governments, particularly in the Midwest, are taking more autonomous action either against or in support of striking workers. In labor conflicts, as federal authority further diminishes, we have little expectation that the violence which is sweeping the nation will abate anytime soon. This can't go on forever.
Yes, it can! You just don't want it to.
Nor should you, by the way.
I know. I'm just being silly.
Detroit Commune forms!
Well, that happened.
Yeah. Well, Detroit is...
Can't have shit in Detroit. It's all owned by the people now.
The spate of labor-related violence this week has culminated in Detroit, Michigan, under a particularly radical Socialist Party administration since 1935, has for years been a hotbed for labor violence. With the federal government unable to control the National Guard, however, the state government has finally seen a chance to strike against their political opponents. In a joint assault of the National Guard and the paramilitary Red Guards, the Minutemen and other anti-union militias were routed from key areas in the city. Spontaneous attacks on key strategic points secured the city for the Socialist Party, the CIO, and the IWW, who now have total control over the city. The political situation in the city having suddenly radicalized from even its previous socialist-dominated state, the new state of affairs has been formalized with the formation of the Detroit Commune. A new government based on the model of the French communes has been installed. With the backing of the state government under the Renner administration, now totally bereft of non-socialist influence. The suddenness of this takeover has shaken the federal government to its core. One of the most important states in the Union being taken over by an openly revolutionary force, the calls for action from Washington have grown to a crescendo. Our impotence to heed them has all but shattered any remaining confidence in Hull's position, as southern and western state governments mobilize their own National Guards on their own accord to protect their own interests. Something has to give. So basically, nobody's in charge of the federal government. War Plan White activated. Over the past few weeks, it has become abundantly clear that acting President Hull's caretaker administration is incapable of restoring order to the country. The federal government has all but lost control completely in both the Midwest and Deep South, as state governments loyal to either the Socialist Party or Huey Long assert control over federal employees and National Guard units. The continuing failure of Congress to elect either a speaker or a president has sent the federal government's position into a death spiral, as Hull's legitimacy falls further and further. With the writing on the wall, acting President Hull has reluctantly heeded the advice of General Douglas MacArthur. War Plan White, a military counterinsurgency plan intended for an eruption of overwhelming domestic unrest, has been activated, with some modifications. Additionally, Hull has chosen to step down as acting president in favor of MacArthur.
Okay, stop screaming it at me, though.
So now we have the American Caesar.
Oh dear.
He has appointed MacArthur as Secretary of State and conditioned his own resignation from that post as on his successor's confirmation. The Senate, increasingly dominated by conservative voices, approved MacArthur's appointment, making him acting president. few have any illusions about MacArthur's new role. Open conflict between the federal government and radical political forces is now inevitable. Now all we can do is brace ourselves to the coming storm.
How do you only lose 15% stability from that?
I know, right?
That should be at least 30% stability lost.
Because I'm already at minus 90?
I guess.
So now we have the American season.
Mm-hmm.
General Butler marches on Washington. The pushback on General MacArthur's unilateral activation of War Plan White has been swift. Shockingly, however, it has come from within MacArthur's own house.
Oh dear.
The call is coming from inside the house. In the early hours of the morning, a contingent of Marines, led by General Smedley Butler, marched out of Annapolis towards D.C. This sent the capital into a panic, as Butler's well-known socialist sympathies led to rumors that he was planning on seizing power for the Socialist Party. The quick mobilization of forces in Washington have put paid to Butler's plans. Old Gimlet Eye apparently anticipated an uncontested seizure of the city. At the prospect of resistance, he instead turned his forces north. By the end of the day, his Marines had sailed to Philadelphia, putting the city under martial law, and freeing local socialists jailed by the conservative municipal government. In a public statement, Butler maintained that his intention was to free D.C. from MacArthur's grasp and restore the Constitution. His actions, however, have sparked a red scare within the ranks. From D.C., thousands of telegrams have been sent firing disloyal officers. Mechanized force advocates, the bomber mafia of the Air Corps, and other Midwestern officers are among the most impacted groups. The biggest name of all in the firing line is the now former Chief of Naval Operations, Joseph Taussig. These officers have, however, refused to leave their posts, and many have taken their sacking as permission to openly consort with local socialists. Far from keeping the military in the federal camp, these haphazard purges may have just split it. A house divided.
Oh dear.
Over the past few months, the power of the SPA, IWW, and CIO in the Steel Belt states has grown exponentially. In Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio, the socialists have become more militant, overturned unfriendly elements in state and local government, and forced through a wide-reaching emergency reforms, which have undermined core elements of the American political order, where previously a veneer of legality was maintained in their takeover of various states. The past week has seen the socialists openly seize power by force in several states across the Steel Belt. In Illinois, Red Guards seized the state capitol in Springfield, dragging out the legislative opposition and declaring martial law. A day later, a repeated coup in Indianapolis seized key locations and overthrew the Republican-led state government, in a state where the socialists had not even had a strong statewide electoral showing. The grand finale was just a day ago, however, when Red Guards and other worker militias seized key locations in both Harrisburg and Philadelphia, effectively winning the state of Pennsylvania for the Socialist Party. Scenes such as these, unimaginable only a year ago, have become common occurrences as the hold of the federal government across the entire country shatters. With many Midwestern military units having openly declared from the socialist camp in recent days, we can only presume that the worst still has not come to pass.
The best certainly hasn't either.
What?
The best certainly hasn't come to pass either.
General MacArthur's temporary occupation of Washington has led not to a calming of tensions, but a fiery shockwave of resistance all across the nation. With the situation worse than any in D.C. could have predicted, MacArthur has taken the step necessary to legitimize his regime.
They all became angrier.
MacArthur has had a sympathetic member of the removed president's cabinet appoint him as Secretary of State, an appointment confirmed quickly by a session of a rump Senate, short of its SPA Farmer Labor and longest members. As such, MacArthur now claims that, according to the Presidential Succession Act of 1886, since the presidency and vice presidency are vacant, he is the highest-ranking official in the line of succession, and therefore the acting president. Though it is expected that a more sturdy constitutional justification for the military administration will be devised in due time, MacArthur has been hurriedly sworn in the midst of his preparations for an incoming civil war, and has addressed the nation, reminding all traitors that they still have time to lay down their arms. We need hard men for hard times. Workers' Congress convenes in Chicago. With the call for the general strike being heeded by the IWW, CIO, and even elements of the AFL, the growing revolutionary fervor in the Steel Belt has reached a fever pitch. Socialists have seized control of critical infrastructure and state governments, left and right, declaring local communities and spontaneously approaching expropriating private industry and barricading key areas of large industrial cities. Right-wing forces in the region have been completely routed, as Red Guards secure the countryside and the railways, linking the critical centers of Red support together. Though the rebellion is by far the most severe unrest since the Civil War, it would be relatively simple, if violent and bloody, to quell it if not for one key factor: the loyalty of the military. Though the military is conventionally a steadfastly apolitical force, General MacArthur's unilateral enactment of War Plan White and assumptions of executive authority has shattered the tradition of non-intervention in civil affairs, and has ruptured the loyalty of the military itself. In the aftermath of MacArthur's seizure of power in Washington, General Smedley Butler's attempted counter-coup, and the subsequent failed purge of disloyal officers from the ranks, Butler and General James Key Parsons, along with other notable progressive and Midwestern officers, have met with John Reed and pledged their support for the growing workers' uprising. With federal military force no longer an obstacle to revolution, the SBA has invited all revolutionary political forces to meet in Chicago. Socialist congressmen, IWW and CIO union representatives, and other revolutionary progressive politicians convened and signed a declaration proclaiming themselves the Provisional Workers' Congress of America, essentially declaring a rival Red government. As part of their proclamation, they denounced the legitimacy of any reactionary governments in the United States, and elected John Reed as their provisional president. As various state governments proclaim loyalty to the new revolutionary government, it appears the die is cast. The revolution has begun. The revolution has begun. Stand by the workers. The Workers' Congress of America. Yeah, it's no longer the socialist, the syndicalists.
And you no longer have New York City.
Not yet. No, I have New York City.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, it's no longer called the Combined Syndicalists of America because they decided it was a bad joke that didn't make sense.
Ah.
I don't know if you get the joke.
I don't.
CSA.
Yeah, I still don't get it.
Combined Syndicalists of America, Confederate States of America.
Ah, gotcha.
That was the joke.
Gotcha.
They decided it was a bad joke that didn't make sense. And they were right. It was a bad joke that didn't make sense.
Honestly, yeah.
Why would they ever pick an acronym that was so associated with such a reactionary movement? They are, in fact, supposed to be revolutionaries here.
Right. This looks like a lot more of a pickle than the last version of the game.
No, I just haven't raised a bunch of my units yet.
Ah, gotcha. I forgot you're basically a necromancer, but with living people.
All in. Ready to move.
Now we slow things down.
And commence fighty time.
Almost.
Ew, Ohioan militia.
Ready.
The siege of New York City. It seems foreign agitators were already active in America, as French and British provocateurs and agents have incited New York City's poor boroughs to revolution. Many businessmen that could not escape have been lynched, but the mob violence has been quieted by the arrival of trained organizers, both civilian and military.
From Britain and France.
From Britain and France, the National Guard has surrounded the city in a loose siege, stretching from Newark to Yonkers, preventing socialist militia from entering or leaving the city, but not yet attempting to assault on Manhattan.
Ready to move. Ready to move. All in. Ready, shut.
So first I'm going to raise Ohio's men, then I'm going to raise Illinois'. Those are my two biggest. And then New York City, because I'm going to spill forth from there.
Nice.
In recent days, syndicalist militias have been struggling and failing to take control in the northeastern states, from New York and New Jersey all the way up to the coast of Maine. So far, governors in the region have clamped down hard on the violence. Though the results have been a series of violent riots in Boston and Buffalo, not to mention a wave of uprisings still ongoing within New York City itself. Citizens are on edge, and governors have denied the federal government's permission to raise local militias in the area, fearful of increasing tensions further. A few New England governors are reported to be quietly seeking the Canadian government to intervene should the worst come to worst. And also, you will notice that the American Union State is now called the American People's Government.
Ah.
Because the joke was that, the northern-backed one is called the CSA and the southern-backed one is called the Union. Don't you get it? Isn't it funny?
Ah. Yeah, that is pretty dumb.
Yeah, it was basically, haha, aren't we funny?
We swapped them around. Like Iceland is Greenland.
And the answer was no, you are not funny, and stop pretending you are funny. Provisional Revolutionary Government formed. Following the dissolution of the state government and its replacement by a Congress of Councils and Unions, similar to the ones declared in Michigan and elsewhere, the newly formed Chicago Commune has been chosen by the Workers' Congress to host its sessions for the duration of the conflict. The newly inaugurated President Reed gave a passionate speech for revolutionary unity in the upcoming conflict, harkening back to his experiences during the Russian, French, and British revolutions. The Congress proceeded to pass a resolution calling for the creation of a unified military council where representatives from all factions, including a single representative from farmer labor, Henry Wallace, chaired by President Reed and entrusted with serving as an ad hoc cabinet for the duration of the coming war. Hey, Reed.
Hey, Reed. John Silas Reed.
The revolution is come.
E.
Increased National Guard clashes. America's unity is quickly breaking down as popular movements seek to overthrow their oppressors in Washington. Denver, Sacramento, and Baton Rouge. The Federal Army seems to be undertaking no-offensive moves in the event east against the strikers there, but it is hard to pinpoint its exact location. Newly defected General Smedley Butler is recommending a strike to secure the old capital in Virginia before taking New England and Kentucky. These are seen as more valuable prizes in the Midwest, as well as the most threatening should the dictator long seize them. We must take D.C. Also, you'll notice the Pacific States is no longer called the Pacific States.
Oh,
It is the American Constitutional Coalition, and Quentin Roosevelt is its leader.
gotcha.
Basically, it's no longer a regional separatist state. So it's basically the people who are saying MacArthur has no more legitimacy than Reed and Long do.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. But they aren't taking part in the war.
No, they are. They're trying to. They're against all three.
Ah, gotcha.
And you'll notice that that MacArthur is not called the USA or the federal government. It's the United States Military Administration.
Mm-hmm. Long as Lucky MacArthur is separating us.
The decay of order in the United States has impacted the U.S. Navy much like it has every other facet of American society. Many sailors and even some officers are sympathetic towards what the Naval High Command has dubbed forces opposed to the Republic and public order, avoiding mentioning any political terms to stay as impartial as possible. Still, defections have become the norm. At first, the Naval High Command managed to prevent the collapse of the fleet, detaining sailors and officers loyal to the syndicalist cause, but they could not keep this up for long. Events on the West Coast caused the disintegration of the U.S. Navy. Battles between federal loyalists and mutinous ships have broken the Pacific Fleet and given sailors across the Union a chance to break with the regime in Washington. Though some declared for the longest, others announced their support for the revolution in Chicago. Even a few high-ranking captains chose to switch sides to align with us. We have also seized reserve fleets and vessels stationed in the Northeast. From them and from arriving revolutionary sailors, we have been able to assemble a modest naval force. Alright.
But where even would our Navy be? Would they be in the Great Lakes?
They're in Philadelphia.
Ah. Okay.
They cannot be in the Great Lakes.
Yeah, I was about to say, we don't have any coastal cities, I thought.
And not
Well,
only
I guess-
that, but the Great Lakes have no access to the ocean. at this
Exactly,
point.
that's why I was so confused about it. Like, do we even hold Philadelphia? It doesn't look like it.
We do.
Okay.
See?
Oh, I see, okay. Oh, we do have access to the coast. A singular port.
And New York, but it's cut off from the rest of us.
Yeah.
And under siege for now.
Mm-hmm.
Dun dun dun. Illinois time.
That's Illinois.
Listen up.
Okay, Ohio guys.
Commands.
Off to the front with you.
Ready, sir.
Show them what makes Zoomers and Gen Alpha fear you.
Indeed.
Listen up.
Federalist militias seize southern Texas. While the state of Texas has firmly declared its allegiance to Huey Long, forces loyal to the federal government have been in hot contention for control and so far have managed to obtain victory throughout the southern regions of the state. Governor James Alfred has been declared a traitor by Southern mayors who appeared determined to face off against their brethren and the rest of the state should the Civil War begin in earnest. Long's cause seems to be losing support. Okay, that's good for us. It looks like MacArthur is choosing to focus on the West.
Gotcha.
To a full session of the Workers' Congress and broadcasted on all available radio waves in what had formerly been the International Amphitheater in Chicago, John Reed delivered a fiery speech describing the history and wealth of America. Since the time of the Pilgrims, exploitation had ruled the continent, nothing less than the naked domination of man over man, the sacrifice of humanity on the altar of surplus profit. Slavery and wage slavery were not aberrations, argued Reed, at the core of the United States, but the same working class that had built the bourgeois, their great beast, now had the tools to tear it down. Like a great volcano, the great class struggle that had stewed for so long was now erupting into the open, declaring that direct action against capitalist society was now a vital necessity for all American workers. Regardless of race, religion, or nationality, telegrams from the Third Internationale poured in support of the Socialist Party. The IWW and the CIO each meeting resounding cheers from the delegates. After nearly a unanimous vote, a symbolic shot across the bow was fired in the Declaration of Revolutionary Unity with the workers of the world, and the immediate nationalization and collectivization of all privately held property without compensation. The proceedings came to an end with a final speech from Reed, one ending with the refrain that had now become familiar across the nation: "Workers of the world, unite!" After southern Texas, Arkansas and Oklahoma too have been overrun by federal militias, despite their governors declaring support for Huey Long. With both of these states and San Antonio firmly in federal hands, Houston and Austin will probably fall soon, and MacArthur will have access to the Texan oil fields for the Army. What did they expect to accomplish with that? Fall of Houston. As expected, loyalist militias from San Antonio and Oklahoma have overrun the disorganized longest militias in Houston and Austin before General Danford could reinforce its positions. Dallas fell quickly after, and with the fall, those three... North Carolina declares for Long. And with the fall of those three cities, all of Texas is firmly under federal control. The governor, James Alfred, has been captured before he could escape. So, North Carolina has declared for Long. The Social Revolution. As the general strike continues and the proletarian revolution begins in earnest, the IWW and CIO, with coordination thanks to the SBA, have begun to coordinate the ground-level seizures of state power. Across WCA-controlled territory, Red Guards have occupied railroads, telegraph lines, post offices, hospitals, and other vital infrastructure. Meanwhile, all elected government besides local workers' councils and union congresses have been dissolved. For the first time in history, the American workers are running their own lives. These Congresses have sent their delegates to the working Congresses in Chicago, will serve as a future basis for all political, economic, and perhaps even social life. In this temporary state, until a real economic plan can be agreed upon, the direction itself is operating in a state of flux. Local communes have begun a crude system of resource allocation, with IWW and CIO providing infrastructural support, keeping prices relatively steady as our ad hoc confiscations allow the sputtering engines of the old economic system to run until we so deem it proper. Like in 1917, 1919, and 1925, a feeling of change is in the air. A feeling of the 20th century has arrived at last. A republic, if you can keep it, so said the bourgeois revolutionary Franklin so long ago. We have gone a step further. We shall have a workers' commonwealth if we can defend it. For the brotherhood of all mankind. A race for Virginia. After crossing North Carolina, General Patton's forces met something they didn't expect. General Butler's forces in Richmond. Apparently, they converged from West Virginia and took Virginia without resistance before General Patton could act. Patton has retreated over the border, leaving a small guard in Norfolk.
Ready, sir.
All right. That probably means
I'm back.
you are.
Got you your iced tea.
Fall in. Fall in.
We got Virginia,
Neat.
which probably means Washington is going to fall.
Thanks, Messetier.
And now New York City.
Will rise.
Ready to move.
Yes, I'm raising the New York City forces.
Fall in.
And then they shall break out of the pocket.
Yep.
Ready, sir. Fall in. Commands.
After fierce fighting, syndicalist forces took control of Tennessee and Kentucky, making important gains against Longest forces. With this new development, forces hostile to General MacArthur control everything east of the Mississippi River, one step closer to free all workers of America.
Yes, sir. Ready, sir. Ready, sir.
The red... Oh, and there it is.
Attention.
That didn't take long.
The red flag over Washington. As socialists and longest forces battled on the borders of Virginia, SPA-aligned militia finally reached abandoned Washington. The city, completely empty of any military presence, was taken easily, with the historic landmarks and the rivers over the Potomac to Alexandria being secured by militia first. Since there seemed to be no sign of counter-assault, the militia soon began transforming the National Mall and other sites, with the most attention being paid to the Capitol. Hauling down the old flag from over the home of fled Congress, soldiers paused for photographs and interviews with socialists and local newspapers before gathering to cheer over the flag of the WCA being raised over D.C. at last. No more will Congress oppress the workers.
But where's MacArthur?
Ready.
What's that deadline that's looming?
For everybody to lay down their arms and submit to MacArthur.
Ah.
Where's MacArthur? He's hanging out in Denver,
Ah.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Although the SPA acquired the state legislature of captured the state legislature of Minnesota in the 1936 election, they were unable to make good on the promise of a socialist Minnesota, as Governor Peterson of the Farmer Labor Party used the state's National Guard to hold out in Minneapolis long enough for MacArthur's soldiers to reach the state and repel the militia from Wisconsin, and crush the strikers in Minnesota itself. The Workers' Congress has been stymied in their advances west, and the newly formed command staff is reportedly considering southern and eastern states and strikes instead, to push their advantage against Huey Long's forces. Bad news.
Unfortunate.
And there's what I was waiting for.
Oh dear.
Which means
Ready to move.
the New England men,
Mm-hmm.
I mean the New York men,
Mm-hmm.
can now... Actually, they can't, because he'd be commanding too many men.
Hmm.
The push on D.C. seems to have given the British Empire to our north the idea that we are a threat. They have accepted the request for protection by the traitorous governors of New England. Our forces were unable to make any headway in the northeast before encountering Canadian troops. New Jersey, however, fell to our militia and international allies in New York City before the Entente forces could reinforce it. The British are back in Boston.
Hmm.
Alright. Now I know where I'm going to put the New Yorkers for now. I'm going to have them guard this border.
Mm-hmm.
Until I figure out where they're most needed.
Mm-hmm.
As chaos continues to engulf the country and the nation is dissolved into a state of civil war, the states of the American Northeast found themselves trapped between the ensuing factions of the oncoming Great War. Desperately seeking neutrality, it appears that they have made their decision to remain non-aligned in America's Second Great Civil War by requesting that the Canadian government move into New England with military force. In a blatant violation of America's territorial boundaries, the hobbled British Lion has marched into the United States for the third time. While the Civil War factions are opposed to any forms of reconciliation, excluding unconditional surrender, all share a shared feeling of disbelief and outrage. As Canadian soldiers patrol the border between New England and the former United States, large groups of American refugees attempt to cross the border with what little possessions they have. Many across the country dismiss the northeastern states as a Canadian puppet, but that may not be the case. According to an official statement made by Wilbur Cross, who has been appointed as president of the Provisional Government of New England, the so-called provisional government plans to hold its formal and legitimate presidential election in the coming days, perhaps signifying New England's claim and legitimacy as a successor to the former United States. Very well.
Very well.
War begins in Oregon.
Oregon exists?
With the withdrawal of the federal government west, it was... Oh, yeah. Yeah, they just...
Oregon?
Yeah, basically the American Constitutional Coalition has now been reduced to just California.
Ah.
With the withdrawal of the federal government west, it was obvious that General MacArthur intended to strike at the American Constitutional Coalition first, seeing them as the most isolated threat. Coming over the Rocky Mountains with the last snows of winter, The 2nd and 14th Army Divisions commenced an organized attack on Oregon in the southern part of Washington. National Guardsmen in those states either sided with MacArthur or were forced to surrender. The forces of the Denver government soon took Portland and Yakima, and the governors of Washington and Oregon surrendered to save themselves from syndicalist agitation and war. 3rd, 2nd, and 14th Divisions are now preparing to take California, but the Californians have already begun a counterattack, just as the longest strike towards Arkansas once more, and the WCA moves on North Carolina. All across the splintered and fractured nation, the splinter factions have seen their chance to begin offensive operations against all competing governments, and from Minnesota to North Carolina, from New York City to New Mexico, skirmishes and civil unrest have just escalated to battles. It is clear to all that the Second American Civil War has begun. To war.
Oh no! That sucks.
Ah, they're attacking.
Ready. Move out. Ready, sir.
Let's see. See if I can cut your rail lines.
Snip, snip.
Commands. Attention. Yes, sir. Ready, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh no, not Memphis!
Commands. Orders.
Andrew and I are good. How are you, Kurgan?
Commands. Move out. Move out. Ready to move.
Advance until opposition is encountered.
Move out. Commands.
This seems like a solid plan to me. What about you?
Same.
Move out. Ready. Move out.
Ah,
Move
sorry
out.
to hear that.
Move
Another
out.
heat wave in the UK.
Oh, they want to send volunteers.
Neat.
Ready to move. Move out.
Time for Snippy Snippy.
Indeed. Snippy Snippy is indeed what happened. I just cut their rail line.
Haha.
Orders. Ready. Move out. Ready to move. Ready. Commands. Attention. Move out.
Ah,
Take
they
it
have
cover.
encountered resistance.
Ah.
Under fire. Taking cover. Come on, move out.
So there's no resistance yet up north. So keep advancing and see if I can, how secure of lines I can secure.
Taking aim.
Why isn't that guy moving forward?
Because he needs to. Because this is still a front line.
No, I meant further north. The one to the northeast.
Ready, sir.
There's 3 dudes there. No, down.
Orders.
South. See where that little lip is? Yeah. And below there, too. There's another one.
Move out.
No, they're moving.
There? Okay, I couldn't tell.
They're moving.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Listen up. Ready. Ready, sir. Move out. Orders. Move out. Ready to move. Attention. Keep on moving. Ready, sir. All in. Under fire. Listen up. Yes, sir.
Oh Lord, he coming.
Move out.
Oh no, down goes the plane.
Yes, sir.
Wait, no, it's a controlled fall.
Speaking of planes,
You need to do stuff with aeroplanes?
indeed.
Psycho sailed to sea one day, landed up in the Boston Bay. Vanzetti sailed the ocean blue, landed up in Boston too. Two good men's a long time gone. Two good men's a long time gone. Left me here to sing this song. Psycho's wife, 3 children had. Psycho was a family man. Vanzetti was a dreaming man. His book was always in his hand. Psycho earned his bread and butter, being the factory's best shoe cutter. Vanzetti spoke both day and night, told the workers how to fight. Two good men a long time gone.
Yes, sir.
Two good men a long time gone.
Ready, sir.
Two good men a long time gone. Left me here to sing this song.
Ready to move.
I'll tell you if you ask me about this payroll robbery. 2 clerks was killed by the shoe factory on the street in South Rain. Judge there rode his friends around that he had cut the radicals down. Anarchist bastard was the name. Judge there called these 2 good men. I'll tell you the prosecutor's name. Catherine Adams Williams came. Judge and lawyers spread it down to Dunmore, tricks and circus clowns. 2 good men's a long time gone.
Orders.
2 good men's a long time gone.
Move out.
2 good men's a long
Listen
time
up.
gone. Left me here to sing this song. Vanzetti docked in 1908, slept along 30th Street.
There we go.
Polo workers organizing on electric.
Where we go?
I now have actual counters that show.
All you people ought to be like
Ready.
me and work like psychos.
Things?
Vanzetti, and every day
Listen
find
up.
ways to fight on the union side for the workers' rights.
Yes, sir.
Well, I ain't got time to tell this tale. The Dixon Wolves were on my trail, but I remember these 2 good men that died to show me how.
I see a potential pocket.
I do too. Don't worry. I'm moving to exploit said pocket.
Yay!
Long time gone.
Pocket.
Ready, sir. Attention. Ready to move. Keep on moving.
Be careful that that doesn't get turned into a pocket.
It won't, as long as I keep these lines secured.
Gotcha. Okay.
Ready, sir.
Here's the plan.
Yeah. Where is it?
So I'll tell you once I'm done accepting all these.
Mm-hmm.
The plan is send the New Yorkers
Mm-hmm.
to hold Tennessee. Once they're all in position, redeploy
Keep your distance.
all of these people here
Mm-hmm.
and try and force a breakthrough here.
Nice.
Orders.
There's a better world coming. Tell you why. There's a better world coming.
Let's go.
Why? Freedom on the land, on the sea and in the sky. There's a better world coming. Tell you why. There's a better world coming. Don't you see? There's a better world coming. Don't you see? When we'll all be union and we'll
Ready,
all
sir.
be free. There's a better world coming. Don't you see?
This is like, but they are likely to.
No. There's a better world that's coming, don't you know?
With the revolution in full swing and society fully polarized into two great camps, the task falls to the SPA to steward the proletariat along its path to a communist society. Of course, as Marxists, the SPA understands that society's progression is based fundamentally on the relation of its economic classes to its means of production. After all, a revolution is not merely political or even economic, it is social. Paradoxically, a rejection and fulfillment of the idea of social democracy. Prominent industrial unions and leading party theoretician Louis Ferlina has taken the floor of the Congress to argue that in the present moment the WCA has the opportunity to enact a decisive change to the total equalization of all pay, especially by letting local communes collectively set wages. While thus far local communes have fixed prices and handled the distribution salaries, the increase of institution of a single universal salary for all workers would be a massive step in the decommodification of production, and thus the ending of capitalism. Progressive caucus leader Norman Thomas took the stand to warn against the hasty adoption of Ferlina's motion, warning that such a move could drive away many newly radicalized moderates among so-called skilled labor and other petite bourgeoisie forces that joined our cause. Namely, many local AFL chapters, farmer labor affiliates, and even Proudhonist-minded anarchists. Sticking to the most radical pre-war arguments, tepid as they seem now, at least for the duration of the Civil War, could serve as a vital means of incentivizing the military production necessary for victory. The final vote was close, but ultimately Ferlina's motion for equal pay passes.
There's a better world coming, don't you see? Better world coming, don't you see? When we'll all be
Keep on attacking.
and we'll all be free. There's a better world coming.
By the way, it's been 2 hours. Just a heads up.
Alright, I'll probably be looking to end it soon, just not quite yet.
Gotcha.
Attention. Orders. Commands. Move out. Listen up. Commands.
Ah, they took back the railhead. And the rail lines.
Oh well, you already cut them.
Doesn't matter. They're not cut anymore.
Ah, that's unfortunate.
They're only cut as long as you were sitting atop them.
Gotcha. They appear to be pushing inward over there.
Keep on moving.
Alright. I want
Hold
to
it.
stop all offensive maneuvers for now.
Under fire.
Everybody else, that's who we're at war with.
Yeah, we are currently fighting the...
Keep on moving.
Yeah, this is the second American Civil War over here.
Mm-hmm. In an alternate timeline,
Orders.
Yes.
obviously.
An alternate
Yes, sir.
1936.
Mm-hmm.
Ready. Listen up.
Right?
Caps lock's still on, by the by.
Ready to move. Listen up. Orders.
Now, raise the Philadelphia men.
Ready.
This is the biggest advantage the Cindies have. They are sitting athwart the most populous parts of the country, and therefore they have potentially overwhelming numbers.
Mm-hmm.
If you let them build up, they become a
Snowballing force.
if you are playing as the Feddies, you cannot let them get ahead of steam.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, you're supporting the guys who are literally just basically California.
Hey, California's nice.
Yeah, but
I'm joking.
it as nice as it may be, it is not. They would have been better supporting the MacArthurites.
Mm-hmm. That is a bit weird of them.
Commands.
In the current military situation, I do not.
See why they do like they're doing, yeah.
All in.
Get on a train.
Orders.
Choo-choo, mother fluffers.
Yes, sir.
You'd think they'd just automatically get on a train if it were, you know, an option the way they were going.
I Basically, I want them to get there and get there fast. Alright.
Taking cover.
Oh shit, not banjos again.
But these are banjos for the working class. These are working class banjos.
I guess they can stay then.
This machine kills fascists and all that.
Rise Irish walkers from your knees, bring forth your banner to the breeze. See where it falls, are tinged with red.
Do you see that white square? Oh, it's gone now. There was a white square on the. Never mind, you moved the map. There was a little white square on the map earlier. It confuddled me.
Oh, look.
Man,
The Philadelphia men came out.
listen up. Listen up.
For now, I'm actually going to have you man this border.
Yes, sir.
Our toiling millions claim their own, from old Kincaid to Inishowen. No hireling share shall they enjoy, but all therein from sea to sky.
Because there is a possibility that Canada gets involved in this.
Oh dear.
They
might decide this seems like their business after all.
Rise Irish walkers from your knees, bring forth your father to the breeze.
That's the national focus.
Yes. Now, let's redeploy.
All in.
Let's shorten your line.
All in.
Now, I might be able to concentrate enough force
To do a thing?
to break through on this front.
Nice.
I want to hopefully break through in North Carolina because mountains, terrible, terrible, terrible.
Ooh.
Ready.
Oh, a building got sabotaged.
Attention.
And out popped the Michiganders.
Neat.
All in.
We're going to be tasked with defending Detroit.
How horrible.
Should the
Canadians do Canadian things?
yes, should the Canadians do Canadian things?
their geese will blot out the sun.
Indeed. Well, we can't have that.
Ready, sir.
Now, can we?
Nope.
We all know how of the tyranny of Canadian geese. Peace was never an option after all.
No, it was not.
Keep on moving.
Once the redeployment is done. Oh look, Hemingway's making a speech.
Oh no!
My coworker hates Hemingway. Co-host hates Hemingway.
He
Go.
wrote a book that everyone in American schools is made to read that actively makes reading a schlep. And
Orders.
could have very well turned many people off from reading. So many good books out there, and they make you read The Old Man in the Sea. Never heard of the film Moonfall.
What are we on about Moonfall? Ah.
Listen up. All in. Move out. Taking aim. Move out. All in. Move out. Ready to move. Listen up. Ready to move. Ready,
I
sir.
honestly have no idea where to put you yet. We shall find
I have
out.
no idea what to call them. What do you call a group of people from Indiana?
I don't know. either.
Indiana-ers?
Indianans?
That just sounds silly. As did what I said. Those both just sound silly.
Listen up. Move out. Move out. Move out. Ready, sir. Ready. Ready to move. Ready. Orders. All in.
If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm deliberately attacking the areas that just launched attacks.
Let's go.
Because...
I am hoping that they will be so weakened by the exertion of trying to attack me that they will not be able to repulse me.
But you are also launching attacks, and thus you are also exerting yourself.
I am, but I am specifically only attacking areas that have just repulsed an attack and are not as weak.
Gotcha.
Basically, the let them break against our lines thing.
Gotcha. See you later, Miss 88.
And it worked in at least one place.
Taking aim.
Ah, you didn't really see it.
Oh dear.
That's okay. Unit limit not exceeded, but I also have to stop calling up dudes. I literally can't support another division, any more divisions.
Right.
I have called them all. This is how the game attempts to prevent you from just raising doom stacks.
That makes sense. Japan is taking Guam. I didn't even know Japan was at war.
They aren't. They just took Guam from us.
Ah.
They are taking advantage of the fact that we are in no position to defend it, to attack it.
That makes sense.
They are being opportunists.
Attention. Attention.
We're coming up on 2.5 hours.
Ready, sir.
We shall see. We shall likely stop soonish. Oh, whoa.
That happened.
It needs to unhappen.
Yeah, they were getting too close to Nashville. We can't let them have their country music.
Keep your distance. Ready, sir.
More importantly, we can't let them have those railheads.
Oh yeah.
Ready to move.
Dang, Madrid has fallen.
Your irrational,
Someone should help it back up.
your irrational hatred for country music notwithstanding.
Move out.
It is entirely rational.
Yes, sir.
Country music is an abomination to the ears.
Commands.
See if I can threaten those railheads again.
Ready to move. Commands.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, if I can take Charlotte, I can cut them again. Oh, wow.
Oh wow, what?
The French just lost their African empire.
Ah. That was colonial bullshit anyway.
Yeah. See, all this just happened.
I saw the Ottomans.
Yes. The stool empire is in fact here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would amuse you.
It did.
Ah!
Ha-ha! And there go your railways!
Yep.
How did a stool end up getting called an ottoman anyway?
I do not know.
Feels like there would be a story behind that.
Now let's see if they can keep us from pushing that advantage.
Orders. Keep on moving.
Yes, we are.
Guess we are what?
Slowly taking territory.
Mm-hmm. And losing it.
Oh, that we are.
Alright, I think I know where these
Listen up.
guys need to go.
Commands. Keep on attacking. Move out. Let them have it. Ready, shut. Listen up. Move out. Orders. Yes, sir.
That's a big old pocket.
Oh, it is.
But can you sustain it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I can.
Neat. Do it.
Move out.
I'm going to bring them down.
Mm-hmm.
Task them with sealing up that pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Taking cover. Ready, sir. Orders. Orders. Attention.
We now have a war economy.
Ooh.
It should fix this issue.
It did!
Ready. Move out.
I've played enough Paradox games to recognize what that color change means.
Indeed. We're now enrolling female soldiers.
Awesome!
Yes, sir. Commands.
If girls want to shoot fascists, they should be allowed to shoot fascists.
Under fire.
I do love that our country's first female military commander was Harriet fucking Tubman.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of a first.
Taking cover. Move out.
When she says, "Let my people go," you say, "Yes, ma'am." I don't think she actually said that at any point. But, you know, same sentiment.
Let's go.
Indeed.
Oh no! If we had AT-ATs, there would be something very wrong.
Indeed.
Listen up. Ready. Ready. Ready, sir. Ready to move.
So
Attention.
now you're making me think I should play a game of Stellaris at some point.
Well, why not?
Because I want to do that mod, and you don't want to try to make that mod work on your end.
Why do we have to play the mod?
All in.
You said AT-AT.
Fair.
Attention.
Not that I'm going to be making it work on my end anyway today, because
Right, no computer here today.
All in.
it would just be a reversal of roles.
Move out.
I would suddenly be the advisor.
Attention.
Mm-hmm.
Attention. Move out.
They are all.
Oh, you're preparing for a hug. See, there's the two arms, and there's the body of your victim in the middle. Good old hug.
Prepare for befriending.
Mm-hmm. Prepare for boarding. You are coming on board to be my best friend forever. We need to get back to watching that.
You do.
There are only a few episodes left since, you know, Games Workshop freaking shut them down. But they'd still be worth watching.
Move out.
Indeed.
Orders.
Screw Games Workshop.
I hope sometime soon they can get back to work on it.
Yes, if Games Workshop decides to stop being
A bitch. It sucks because for a while they were really good about it. About fan works and whatnot.
All in.
They did it because they were planning on launching Warhammer Plus, which was going to have a bunch of a bunch of official animations, and they didn't want the fan animations
Listen up.
competing with it.
That's bullshit. Why would they need to compete?
Because of people,
4K no los dos.
because they don't understand anything other than a zero-sum game. If my game is your loss.
That's stupid. There's more than enough Warhammer fans for all the animators.
Yes, sir.
Seriously, they exist in numbers.
Hands.
I am
I
currently
may not be that big of one, but I've met enough.
I'm currently listening to a
Ready to move.
video series known as Star Wars vs. 40K. He legit he legit almost ended it early when they did that no fan animations thing.
Move out.
That is upsetting. Like I may not be following that series, but that is still fucking upsetting. That is a very well written series,
Yes, sir.
from what I've heard of it.
It is, and like I said, because he was just didn't. That
He
was how,
didn't want to take the risk. Yeah.
no, more. He was that angry at them and did not want to support them in any way.
Hold.
Alright. Fair.
because he was encouraging people to boycott
Ready to move.
all Games Workshop properties because he did not believe they deserved to continue to own the IP.
Listen up.
Well, not hard to convince me. I don't buy any of their stuff anyway.
Ready to move. Orders.
Ooh, snippy snippy!
Yep.
Ready to move. Ready, shut.
Transmission from the Commune of France. They have canceled their material support. We will have to go without it for now.
Indeed.
Yes, sir.
Also, it has officially been 2.5 hours.
You know what? When this pocket is finally closed,
Fill the pocket.
Move out.
Fill it with red.
how's that sound?
E. So here's a question: is this like a Stellaris Total War where you get the resources of land you take over
Yes.
in the midst of the war? Oh, cool.
But not the full resources because
Yeah, because that would require, settling down and spreading your roots and whatnot, which you can't do in a war situation.
see, I don't get in this specifically. Did you see that order restored in Virginia message I got?
I missed it, but I saw enough like it that I know what you're talking about, and I was there for the last couple streams, so I remember those ones.
What it means is that now I have suppressed the. Now it will be considered a core state, and will
Oh.
give me its full resources because I have suppressed the resistance there.
Ah, gotcha. So you can eventually get all the resources, it just takes a while of it being under your control.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Or specifically, but that is a specific mechanic to this specific civil war.
Gotcha.
They don't immediately return to your full control
Gotcha.
because they're still butthurt that they lost, basically.
They are Americans after all.
And they're still supporting the government that they used to belong to.
Let's go. Advance. Move out.
And if we know anything about Americans, it's that they get butthurt when their team loses.
Ready to move.
It's a national pastime, really.
Fall in.
And again, considering what I've heard about soccer hooligans, it's probably something we brought over from England.
Move out. Advance.
Yes, if you.
I find it mildly amusing that they're called something as ridiculous as soccer hooligans, and yet, some of them are actually legitimately somewhat dangerous to be near when they're hooliganing around. Because they just get that crazy.
If you need any indication of how crazy soccer hooligans can be, you need no more confirmation than the fact that the orcs from 40K are based on them.
Ready, shut.
Right?
That also shows you just how ubiquitous they are in the UK. Because remember, Games Workshop is a British company.
I forget, what's ubiquitous? Actually, I don't forget, I never knew in the first place. What's ubiquitous mean?
Everywhere.
Ah, so large in number and
Yes.
whatnot, and or plentiful.
Yeah, basically, Games Workshop is a British company.
Oh yeah.
Ready to move.
After all, so
Now I kind of want to petition the Parliament to send a letter to Games Workshop telling them fuck you for canceling all these fan projects.
Indeed.
Ready to move.
Wait, Kurgan, you're in the UK. You can petition Parliament to do that.
Ha.
Listen up.
Problem is the problem with getting this sealed off is that they still technically have supply.
Because they've got that port.
Yep. These guys, however,
They're dunzos.
yeah, they're running out of supply.
Hmm.
It's only a matter of time.
And they shall soon run out of manpower as well.
Ready to move. Move out.
Also, you see all these tiles and how smallish they are and whatnot? Over in Europe in this game, and other places around there, they're even smaller because there just have to be that many in that much smaller of a space. I was just kidding, Kurgan. Don't take me seriously.
Did he actually take you seriously?
No, he said I don't really do petitions.
Listen up.
No, I was just messing with you, man. If you were to do a petition, there are a million better things to petition Parliament over than hacking Games Workshop and sending a rudely worded letter to them. Like, I'm not even suggesting asking Parliament to make them let people do the stuff again. I'm telling them. Tell them
basically
fuck,
say,
to
"We are
send a letter saying fuck you for that. We really hope you step on a Lego tonight."
Ah, look.
Oh, and they're down.
And now it is time to...
Fill in the rest of the pocket.
Listen up.
Mhm. Yes. It is now time to take the rest of the territory. As they desperately try to
Attention.
link back up with... As they desperately try to break out of the pocket.
Mhm.
Fall in.
Call it Polly Pocket because there's something in there. It's violence! Violence is what's in there!
And they still keep taking territory in Tennessee.
Remember those toys? The ones that you would supposedly be able to carry around in your pocket, but they were actually too big for anyone's pocket, and you'd open them up. There
Yes.
was one group for, one bunch of them for girls called Polly Pocket, and the other for guys, I think it was called Mighty Max.
I remember Mighty Max having a TV show, too.
Oh, that was a thing. We're old.
Very. At least by the standards of the internet.
True. Then again, by the standards of the internet, 2020 is old.
Move out.
Murder hornets? Whatever, Grandpa.
Did someone say that, or was that you?
That was just me.
Move out.
Remember Liz Truss and the head of lettuce?
I do not.
So, a Tory head of state in the UK, was head of state for such a short period of time, she was outlasted by a head of lettuce. And it was live streamed on YouTube. Like, who will last longer, Liz Truss or this head of lettuce?
Ready.
Wish we could do shit like that over here.
Indeed.
Just, have a petition go through and suddenly new election for head of state and amongst other things.
It's not a petition that goes through.
You get what I'm saying. Not a petition, but you get what I'm saying. Something like that.
Yes, sir.
Where if the person in charge is clearly fucked up in the head and Congress doesn't want to do anything about it, we the people can make them.
We the people didn't do it.
Move out. Listen up.
Them, the Parliament, did it.
I'm saying a hypothetical situation over here. I know it's Parliament that does it over there and not they the people. I'm just saying, I would love it if we had a method to be like, nope, you're clearly fucked in the head, yoink! You know, one other than the one we already have, which, you know, they've not been using because, you know...
The only thing close to that is recall elections, which only exist at the state level.
Yeah, I know. You get what I'm saying, though. It'd
Yeah.
be nice if we could do that at the federal level, too.
I mean, Gavin Newsom in California was subjected to one and then won the recall election.
I know that's still a possibility, but the fact... But it...
I know, I'm just bringing
But
up the...
it's still important to be able to do shit like that.
I'm just bringing it up because I find it funny that
He ended up winning the recall election after a recall election was called, yeah. I mean, I'm not that surprised because, you know, he is an incumbent.
Well, not only that, but they basically...
Back, sir.
They had enough support to get a recall election, but they couldn't put up a viable alternative to him,
Move out.
who wasn't crazy, and therefore...
Would get the votes.
I mean, that's how they got the governor,
Yes, sir.
was a recall election.
You know what? That makes sense.
Ready.
California would put the governor in charge
Move out.
through spite.
Go, go, go.
Yeah, that's how Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California for a bit. He ran in a recall election.
Apparently, he was pretty decent, if I recall correctly.
But I just love the fact that they had the governor.
That is great.
He was great eventually. He started out basically thinking he could use his celebrity to bully the state legislature to basically doing whatever he wanted it to do.
Well, the fact that he grew from that instead of staying that way the whole time speaks a lot about his, you know, character and character growth. Anyway, there's that pocket filled.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that guy's about to get hurt.
Alright, now let's take a look and see at... We still don't own all of North Carolina. More pity that. We will shortly, though. But let's take a look at the death count. Now, keep in mind, this is only...
What your
What
your side has access to the information of.
This does not count how much they have spent fighting each other. Just how much they've lost fighting me. I have lost 102k men. They have the longest have lost 124k, and the United States military has lost 38k.
The fact that they lost any at all, considering how little you've been focusing on them.
That just means they're throwing men at me, and
Their men are getting broken in the grinder.
Yes.
Save the game! Make multiple saves! Ooh. And maybe a third just to be safe.
All right. I want to check a thing after we stop recording, so we're gonna end the recording before we close
But we
the
aren't
game.
going to close the game just yet. Alrighty, gimme.
All right, so that has been Kaiserreich.
Yeah, it has been Kaiserreich.
What next?
And the start of the Second American Civil War.
Or-
Hopefully,
no.
Hopefully, we won't have a real one.
No. Let's be honest. Let's be thematic. We're the syndicalists. We're not calling it the Second American Civil War. This is the Second American Revolution.
Freedom! Anyway, thank you, Brain Worky. Thank you, Kurgan, Miss Sedier, and Mr. Wolf, all for stopping by. Thank you to, Brainworks. Andrew for being player 1 and fighting the good fight. And thank you, lurkers, you know who you are, for lurkinating. As the governor governates, the lurkinators lurkinate. And if you're watching this after the fact, and you've made it all the way to this point, thanks for watching the whole heckin' VOD. Anyway, this is Chewy Cookie signing off. Farewell! Blep.
Blep. All right.
Hold on a second.